Hello, fellow Onion followers. Today's video is about how to get started in Screeps. First of all, what is Screeps? Screeps is an MMO RTS, so think of it as a cross between Age of Empires and World of Warcraft. It's a strategy game where you have to construct units, gather resources, expand, and conquer enemies, but the world is always online, if you're on a dedicated server. The twist? You have to code nearly everything. This means your empire will play itself while you're offline. However, it won't do anything if you don't have any code, or if there is a breaking bug in the code you submit. The code you need to write is normally done in JavaScript, but for this series, we will be using TypeScript. Don't fear if you came here hoping for JavaScript help. If you can code in JavaScript, you can code in TypeScript. It really just has some extra syntax and typing safety. I'll guide you through the setup and differences, but if you run into any stalls, just Google the error/question in the word and with the word TypeScript in the search. For example, TypeScript classes. The reason for TypeScript is it has a few advantages. Mainly, it is typed. This means, for example, when we say find a tower from the list of your structures, and we want to execute tower-specific methods on that variable on the tower variable we saved, we can get auto-completion in the editor for this. If we're using plain JavaScript, we often wouldn't have detailed auto-completion. There is some disadvantages. TypeScript will throw errors if it isn't sure we are working with the correct type. This means sometimes we will need to add additional logic, often in the form of if checks, instance of checks, typing a variable as a type, and/or specifying the return type of functions. Now let's get started. The first thing you'll want to do is the tutorial. This is best done within in-game editor. Using a dedicated IDE for the tutorial was causing me issues with it recognizing I had completed the code. Rest assured, a dedicated IDE has worked flawlessly for me on a dedicated server. To start the tutorial, we can either click on Start Tutorial down here, or if you already know which server you're going to play on, you can pick that one. For myself, I'm going to play on a private server. So I'll click down here, input my name, and the email. And select a badge. Alright, now that we have this selected, to play the tutorial, just right-click on the side here and click Training if you picked a server. So we're tutorial, and then the first one. So just click this button if you get stuck during the tutorial and follow it through. At some point during the tutorial, I suggest clicking the Open Local Folder button. We're going to need the directory where our scripts are stored. So open up this directory in your File Explorer. That would look something like this. All of our in-game scripts are stored as files, and these get uploaded to the server you are playing on when we update the scripts. In the File Explorer that was opened, go up a folder so that we can see the branches. Keep this open as we may need to copy these later if needed. Once you've finished the tutorial, connect to the server you want to play on. If this is single player, just click on private, then localhost. Otherwise, you can connect to the official server, any listed server, or find a private server. I will be playing on my private server. Then you'll want to pick a room, probably one with multiple sources in it. One source doesn't work out too well. This room looks alright for me. It's pretty open, got a few sources. That room also looks okay. We'll go with this one. Nice. After that, you'll want to open the local folder again and go up a directory again. Like this. It should look something like this. there'll be a folder called default. You might have your tutorial folders there as well, and a .sync folder, and a .sync file. If the tutorial files aren't there, paste them in from the other folder we opened earlier. Now, I have some programs I recommend installing to get the best experience playing Screeps. We will want Git and Node.js. You'll probably also want a Git client. A great free one is SourceTree. I use a paid one called GitKraken. Git client will save you from having to use the command line to manage your code if you decide to use Git at all, which I cannot recommend enough. It can save you a lot of trouble if you break your code at any point. Links will be in the description for all the programs I've recommended. On Windows, to install Git, head to this website here. On Linux, it should be available through your package manager. Just click the Windows button if you're on Windows to download and install it. Next up, Node.js. Just head again to this website that'll be linked in the description, then click the pre-built installer. Make sure Windows is selected and the correct version of your operating system, which should be x64. And the version isn't too important. Screeps runs on version 10, but some of the packages we'll be installing to help us code will need later versions. So either pick the current LTS version, the later one of these ones labeled LTS, or one of these ones labeled current. The default one should be fine. If you're on Linux, I instead recommend you install NVM, Node Version Manager, and then install Node.js with that. For NVM users, don't forget to tell NVM which version of Node to use once installed. Once those are installed, open the terminal, command prompt or PowerShell on Windows. On most operating systems with the GUI, you should be able to right-click and open terminal here or something similar. Or we can connect our IDE to the folder we had open, or we can connect our IDE to the folder we had open, the one with the branch name folders, and our IDE should have a terminal we can use as well, somewhere. I'll be using my IDE today. So let's open a new project. Again, that'll be the same directory as earlier. So for me, in my IDE, the terminal is down here in Webstorm. We're going to type a few commands. First up is git init. That will create a few files. Well, now if we look in our browser, you'll now see a .git folder. Don't worry too much about it. That just means that Git repository has been initialized. And then we want to run npm install at types/Screeps. Next up, npm install at types/lodash, and npm install at types/node. And then we want to install TypeScript globally. To do that, npm install -d TypeScript. And finally, we want to run npx tsc-init. To set up TypeScript, we just need to configure tsconfig.json file as we require. I'll have a link to my Git repository of this tutorial series in the description. which will have a tsconfig.json file in the main directory, so you can copy and paste the latest version. Otherwise, what I'm about to show on screen will do. You'll want these options here. This will set up the environment for Screeps. Now, let's start playing. We have a look at the game. We can see, if we click on branch here, we got a whole bunch of folders and stuff. So what we're going to want to do, actually, is use our IDE rather than the branches. So we'll head back to the IDE and we'll open up all of our files that we need. So main.js. Oh, actually, we don't want to make a TypeScript file. So we'll call that main. And we'll start copying things. So we'll go to tutorial 1 and we'll just copy that in there. But we're going to want to convert this code to be compatible with this TypeScript syntax. So that's going to be different. That will be instead be import role harvester from role.harvester. You know, actually, what we'll do first is create that file. New file, TypeScript file, role.harvester. Here we go. So copy and paste all that in. That's pretty good, but we can make this a bit better. There's some errors here, right? This isn't what we want. JS. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we want to convert this. So let role harvester. There we go. Run void. And then we go export default role harvester. We can get rid of that down there. Bam. Fix this up here. We need the variable creep, which is a creep. There we go. And that should get rid of most of our errors. Oh, yep. And we can move that to here. Nice. What else is it telling us? Unused export. Cool. So we'll go back to main now. And we'll go import role harvester from role.harvester. Bam. There we go. Now we have a basic setup here. Module.exports.loop equals function can be changed to export function loop. There we go. That's a bit better. That's a bit more TypeScript syntax. So now we've got our tutorial 1 code implemented. So next up, we'll head down to tutorial 2. Open up these and adjust the code again. So what's main got? The variable var name and grain Screeps role.harvester run. It didn't change anything. What about role.harvester? That looks a bit different. So we got the free capacity is greater than 0. Find the sources, move to sources. Game.energy to spawn 1. Yep, no, okay, they're the same. So tutorial 2 is all good. We'll move down to tutorial 3. Oh, we got an extra role now. So first up, let's make the role.builder. There we go. Same deal as before. We'll get him going. So let role builder colon curly brackets run. He needs a creep, which is a creep. And we can add that little bit of Java doc in. That looks good so far, and that is void, doesn't return anything. And then down here, we can fix this up. So run creep and change that to an equals. What's the error we got here? Property assignment is expected. Oh yeah, right. Got to export this. Role builder. There's no equal there needed. Next. Yes, so we're starting to get some interesting errors here. So we can see here, this whole building thing doesn't have anything. That's because we need to add that in. But we'll fix this up first. So next up, I'm gonna make that const, and that a const. We don't need other things here. So, and then we got 5 errors. So be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. Yeah, cool. All right. So next up, over on the left here, I want to create a new TypeScript file. This will be screeps.d.ts. Nice. And we're going to want to add some things to this. So again, this will be on the Git, and you can just copy and paste it. It'll be in the root directory as before, but we're going to want to declare global. And in there, we want interface creep memory. And this is going to want some value. So for now, name string any. That'll be a blanket that should fix everything. But we'll also want to add a few more things. So we're also going to want role, which is a string. Every creep will have a role. Add what was the one we're working on currently? Building. So building creeps will need, so some creeps will have a building, which will be a boolean. And that'll be good for now. That'll be enough for our builder. And we will still need to do one more thing. We'll need to add another file, which is memory.creep. This time, or do we? Hang on. Oh no, hang on. I know what's going on here. We haven't finished this file yet. All right. And then we'll need to add an interface memory below this one. Memory creeps name string creep memory. Cool. Then we want to export. And there we go, that fixed that error. So if we click on that now, it takes us over to our definitions. So basically, we just need to say that that type of memory exists in the creeps. There's a possible valid value for a creep memory. And that should get our builder all done up. And then this looks like we just need to add the builder role to our main function. There we go, we'll import role builder. And actually also looks like we fixed up the harvester to be a bit different too. There we go. So if creep.memory.role is harvester, run that. I'll add the triple equals to that. That's the proper way to do it. Bam, 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 bam. Nice, nice. And then we'll keep going. So that was tutorial. Oh, we didn't check out the harvester changes. Anything new here? Yes, there is. If the creep can hold energy, he goes and finds energy. So what sources is that? Harvest not range move to, except move to now is fancy. There we go. If that else, yep, else, then we had some more logic in here. So let's just copy that. So now it's a bit more complicated. Alright, so we'll change that to constant targets equals creep.room defined structures. Structure is equal to structure extension or spawn, and structure.store every capacity is greater than 0. So that is our targets, and if target something is greater than 0, head to the first target and transfer the energy. If it's not in range, we move to it with a visual pattern on the map. Cool. Nice. That's tutorial 3 done. Next up, tutorial 4. I'll open up these all again. Oh, we get a new role yet again, an upgrader this time. So let's have a look at Harvester. Is he any different? He gets the source if he can't get it, and he does things with that, and that's all good, that's all normal. Alright, upgrader. So we need an upgrader now. So new TypeScript file, role.upgrader. Cool. Control A, Control C, Control V, export, default, role upgrader. Actually, it probably does need an equals. And then let role upgrader run. We need the creep, which is a creep. And that's a void. And we'll add in that documentation. We don't need to say it's a creep because it already knows that from up there at the definition. And then we just start fixing this up. So that's a constant sources. Get that room, that, alright, creep.room.controller. So we got some errors here. Creep.memory.upgrading. So we're gonna have to add that in. There we go. So that's those, and then next up we need to get this down here. So what can we do to fix this? We need to make sure that the controller is not undefined. So we just need to grab the value first. Constant controller equals creep.room.controller. If controller is not undefined, then we run this. Nope, that didn't work. That was a good start. Yeah, just sitting through things like this. Oh, hang on, yeah. And we change that to controller. Bam, and that fixed our error. So if controller is not undefined, then we try to upgrade the controller. Cool. We just added an extra if check. We probably also could have just done it here too. If creep.room.controller and creep. But yeah, then this makes it a bit more readable. So this is better, I think. Nice. Now, we'd probably want to add some extra logic here, so that if the controller doesn't exist, then maybe the creep doesn't even spawn at all, or he moves out of the way after he collects the source. Stuff like that, because otherwise you might bog up the area and make it difficult for the other creeps, but we can get to that later. So that's the upgrader done. Now, what has changed in main? We need to add deleting memory at the start of our function. So this wants to be the first thing we do for name in memory.creeps. If not, that creep exists, clear out its memory. All right. What else is there? Yeah, we can get the number of harvested. Yes, we want to spawn creeps if there's not enough creeps. Cool. Yeah. So harvesters equal, now this is a fun one. So see that low dash there? That normally just works, but that's what I import all as that from low dash. Now that will throw a little funny problem here, but we actually can't use a default import because of the way this gets converted when it is compiled to JavaScript. So you want to do this whenever you need low dash specifically. Then just ignore that warning there. All right, back down here. So I'm going to actually comment out that console.log because I don't want to have that filling up my console in game, but you guys can keep it if you want. But anyway, if creep.memory.roll is equal to harvester. So we're going to be typing this a lot. So what we're going to do instead is make a new file called memory.creep. And we're going to do an enum memory roll. And we're going to go harvester equals harvester. What else do we have? We also had an upgrader. We'll add an upgrader equals upgrader. And then we're going to export default memory roll. Nice. And then in here, we'll import that. So import what do I call it? Memory creep as memory creep. That's probably fine. And then instead of that, we do memory creep dot harvester, which should give us the value harvester. Nice. Awesome. And then we can actually update that over here too. Oh no, we do it here. Alright, so if harvesters.length is less than 2, I'll set new name equals harvester plus game time, spawn a new harvester, spawn 1, ready, and the role can be, change that again to memory creep dot harvester. So we don't have to type it out each time. Make sure we don't have any typos in our code. Nice and good. Nice, change that as well. Constant. That just tells us what's going on. Looks good to me. Apparently we got an error here somewhere though. Where is that? I was just missing a bracket. That's all good. All right, so yeah, we just need to add the upgrader roll in and import that. Bam. I like mine to be at the top there. That's looking good. So upgraders will work, builders will work, harvesters will work. We'll spawn harvesters when we need to. We know what it's not doing though. It's not spawning builders and upgraders. So why don't we add some logic in for that too? Or maybe tutorial 5 does it. Yeah, we'll have a look at tutorial 5 first. All right. I close that. We're all looking so good so far. All right, next up, tutorial 5. Oh, here we go. We've added in some logic for towers. So we're going to want that for when we get to build a tower. So after the memory stuff, we can add in constant tower equals that, and you want to put in the ID of your tower when you get it. We'll change this code in the future to work with any tower, but this is an example of where some TypeScript typing is going to have to come into effect. So we can see there's stuff isn't quite working right. So we want to do that as ID underscore has ID, bam, equals tower or null. So if tower, and we do that as structure tower. Bam. There we go. And we fix all those errors we have there. So we're saying this here is an ID, which is of type hash ID. That's what that stands for, I'm pretty sure. And we're saying here, this game.getObjectID is returning specifically a tower structure. We hover over that, we'll see it says structure tower. Right there. That's good. Which means we can do things like tower.pos.findClosest by range, or tower.repair, tower.attack, and it doesn't throw any errors. So that's all nice and good. Now, what else do we got here? So, harvester, upgrader, builder, we already got that. That's a pretty small file, so that one's done. Builder. Let's just double check our builder is correct. So, he's building, if he's out. He's moving, he's building. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, that looks the same. We can get rid of that. Cool. Alright, builder's good. How about harvester? Harvester just does his same 3 things as before. Oh, except we've added the structure tower to it. So we'll copy that. Paste that in. There we go. Now we can refill towers as well. Excellent. And then there's the upgrader. What's he doing? So that upgrades, he should just be doing the same. But we probably... No, we didn't. Cool. Awesome. That's all them done. So now back in main, we just have to make our creeps spawn builders and upgraders as well. So just copy that and paste that twice. Go to our memory creep. So what else do we need? We need a builder now. Builder equals builder. Make sure you spell it right. Not that it really matters because it'd be spelled the same everywhere, but anyways. Right, constant builders, constant upgraders, and even though this is commented out, I'll change it because I might want to enable this periodically if I want to get some details out of it. Alright, there we go. And then we just change that to, top one was builder, wasn't it? Bottom one was upgrader, I think. Nice. So that's that done. So then, if we'll just make some rudimentary logic, let's just say we always want at least one builder, and you can change this whenever you want. But we'll add proper logic to dynamically calculate it at a later date. But for now, we just want to make sure there's a builder to build the things we need. And if upgraders.length is less than, let's say we want 3 upgraders to, maybe 5. We want 5 upgraders to upgrade our room. That's good. So we want to do harvesters first. Actually, because of that, we want to change this to else ifs. Because the game will say how Screeps work is the last command that gets sent is the command that executes. So if we say game.spawn.spawn creep harvester, if we need harvesters, and then if we need builders, we do the same, and then if we need upgraders, we do the same. It's only going to spawn the last one that needed to be spawned. But if we do else ifs, only one of these 3 will activate. So we do it in the order we want it to activate. So check harvesters first, and then builders, and then upgraders. Now you can change that order if you want. I've just done it this way for now. I'll refactor it later. But the idea is I need harvesters to build other creeps to get the energy. There's only one builder, so having him doesn't really hurt, but he probably should be last. And then lots of upgraders, because we don't want our room controller to downgrade, so we want lots of upgraders. So anyways, just again, copy and paste the code from above, but adjust it to be relevant for the new thing. So builder, spawning new builder, right, carry move, and change that to builder. And down here, same thing for upgrader. Upgrader, upgrader, upgrader. Bam, look at that. Smacking it. And that just tells us what we're spawning, and that just runs the roles for all the things. And that should be enough code to actually get started. So what do we do next? Next, we need to compile the TypeScript into JavaScript. We just need to run npx space tsc in your terminal. So npx tsc in a terminal in the directory we had open earlier, or in our IDE if we set it up to be in that directory. We do this while the game is open, so the code gets committed to the game and uploaded to the server to take effect immediately. So do that, wait a few seconds, bam, we head over to the game. We'll now see we have code here, and if we zoom in, we can see our spawn is spawning a harvester. Isn't that awesome? So he's going off to harvest. That's awesome, awesome work. Just what we want. And he's going to start doing things. Now, we can see here, he does get a little bit bugged out. He picks one source and then another source. So we're going to have to fix that later to make it so that he only starts gathering from one source at a time, but that's okay. At least he's doing something right now. This is nice rudimentary code that does something. So to fix that, we just have to add his current target to his memory. There we go, he's picking up source, so he's staying pretty long at this one. So this is a disadvantage to Room having two sources. We need to make the code more complicated, but we're going to have to do that in the future anyway. Now, if we've done everything correctly, our room should start doing things as we just saw. Spawning harvesters, builders, upgraders, whatever. So he's going back to pump up his spawn a bit. Hell yeah. Now, next we should configure Git. So we'll head back to the editor while our creeps work away. And we're going to want to create in the root directory, so the folder with all your branches, a file, and this will be .gitignore. And it should literally be called .gitignore, no .text or anything on the end, just .gitignore. And that is going to contain the following. Just paste these values in. Again, they'll be on my Git repository linked in the description on GitLab. But basically, we are ignoring any JavaScript files and JavaScript.map files in the default directory, which if I go to show you, looks like, so our default directory is where our current code is running, the default branch for your code. Once we typed that TSC line, npx space TSC, it converted this main.ts into these two files and done that for every TypeScript file we had. So it actually converts the TypeScript into JavaScript, which is how the game can read it. So if we look here in the editor, we can actually see that main.ts file has two associated files with it. So what we're doing is we're just ignoring those files. We're only going to save into Git our TypeScript files. So and if you start working on a new branch, so a different folder like tutorial 1 or something, and you compile it, you'll want to add those to that as well. But you will have to edit your TS config to make it work on multiple branches as well. We will ignore .idea, so that's just my editor's generated files. We'll ignore node modules, that's the installation stuff. That's our @types /Screeps and all those things we installed earlier. It's just those files. They can be reinstalled with a command if you need to download your code later. Otherwise, you shouldn't need to because they'll be on your computer. So we don't want those. And .sync is just an automatically generated file by the game that we don't really want to track. So that's all good. And then, if you installed a Git client, you'll want to open that. So I'm using Gitkraken, but you're probably using SourceTree. That's all good. There should be a button along the lines of Open Repo, and we'll just want to browse to the folder that was in. So I'm just gonna go there right now. But that's the same directory we opened with the local folder button earlier. Like this in my program, and I'll click Open, and we'll click Initialize, and basically, you want to commit stage all these changes that you should see here. So there should just be a couple of files in each folder, not a whole lot, about 5 in default, and the rest should have less. Gitignore, package log, package.json, screeps.d.ts, and tsconfig. If you added any other files, they should be there too. So we commit all them, and we'll just type in for the message something like initializing. No, hang on. What should we call this? Just imported starting files. There we go, and commit that. Bam. And if you want to, you can connect this to a remote repository, such as like GitLab or GitHub, to keep your data on there as a backup. I won't be going through that process, though. You'll have to figure it out yourself. And that's how you get started in TypeScript with Screeps. I recommend you start writing down some goals of what you want to do next with your code. Simple, incremental improvements you can make to have your empire manage itself better. If you liked this video, drop a like. And if you'd like to see more, I'd love a sub. Catch you all next time.